Good morning, Cupertino. Hope you're excited to talk about Apple Card family sharing today. But first, I want to say thank you to Expos One, who has subscribed for Twitch Prime for 25 months. He's currently on a 1 month streak. He said, "Hello from Winnipeg." Overachiever also donated 4 bits and said, "What's up?" Okay, I'll stop. Thanks to the Apple Card, I was able to get my first laptop ever, my first metal card, and my highest credit card limit to date of 3K, MacBook Pro. Wow, only 3K? Is that good? I thought that was kind of low. Maybe, I guess it depends on your income. Hello from Ontario. Hello from Winnipeg. Everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining. I normally would have streamed yesterday, but I was actually distracted live streaming for Talos of Space, watching the Starship SN9 launch, which was cool. It was emotional. It ended with a bang, to say the least. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Something I didn't really feel like making a video about because, I don't know, it just feels more finance-based, but it's still related to Apple, was iOS 14.5 is adding support for joint Apple Card accounts, which I'm actually really excited for because me and my wife track our finances very, very closely. We make sure we know where every penny goes or comes from. So I follow everything to a T. And oftentimes most of the stuff we buy is through the Apple Card. So when she asks, like, have you bought anything or have we purchased anything, like what's the latest up to date on our expenses, I always have to pull it up on my phone and hand it to her or read it off, or I have to update the spreadsheets myself. But now it sounds like, based on what I'm reading here, not only will you be able to share it with one other person, you'll be able to share it with multiple people within your Apple ID, like family plan. And it doesn't say how many people. I'm guessing that it's going to be around 6 because that's what the Apple family plan is. But the code that I'm reading right now from Mac Rumors is saying that you can only invite people over the age of 13 and people on the latest version of iOS. But that's a credit card you're granting access to someone under the age of 18. They'll have access to it. They'll be able to use it, but it's still going to be billed over the owner, whoever set up the Apple Card, whoever issued it. It doesn't mean that you'll be able to use the Apple Card if you're under 18 and you're not part of a family plan. You'll still need an adult with an ID or and stuff like that in order to actually sign up. But it is interesting because this is something we were talking about a long time when Apple Card first launched. We were like, hey, like, are you going to be able to let other people use that, or is it only one person? And now they're finally addressing that, which is cool to see. And I'm definitely going to use it because I want my wife to be able to see all that, save us some time. And you can basically set purchase limits to each person, which sounds cool. They can use Apple Card with their purchases. This is really dangerous, by the way, giving your kids access to a credit card digitally. I guess you'll get push notifications whenever they make a purchase, so it's not like they can really do much without your consent. But you can put credit limits on each person, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm glad to see that happening. iOS 14.5 feels like a big deal. Expos One, thank you for the 50 bits. Appreciate that. Did you see the news regarding Apple Card being accepted by the Canadian government? I did see that. I'm not sure if it's the card itself or if it's the trademark. Let me look here. I was, this is the one Apple service I actually utilize, so I felt like I should probably talk about it because I don't really care about all the rest of the services. No, I read through it, or I thought they just filed the trademark for it, but I don't recall. Here it is. Trademark approvals raise hope for Apple Card in Canada. Yeah, this was posted by 9 to 5 Mac early this morning. They said Apple Inc. is listed as the applicant with the filings completed by Agent Banker. Apple Card is the iPhone maker's own reinvented credit card. So just because of the trademarks doesn't necessarily mean they're launching it in Canada, though I do hope, I really do hope they do. Yeah, internet, like the article is saying here, international rollout of the Apple Card is far from straightforward. There are different regulatory requirements in each country, and Apple may need to find different partner banks with all the negotiations and preparatory work that implies. It's not that simple. It's not like a software update to be like, here's the Apple Card in your country. It's very complicated, but if if it's coming to Canada, I guess this is good evidence of that, but it's not confirmed. It doesn't mean it's for sure happening. But thank you for the 50 bits, X plus one. I probably already said that, but thank you. Apple Card for kids, that's a great way to ruin your credit score. Yeah. Just let them spend whatever you want. Though I guess it's probably better, now that I think of it, not that I have kids, but it would probably be better to say, like, if my kid is going to buy stuff, I want it to be through my credit card, because then I can see everything they're buying. And that's what's audio needs help. Really? What's the issue? Let me listen to myself. That sounds okay to me. I'm not sure what's the problem. Huh. Might be on your end then. Audio sounds fine on my end. Other people let me know if there's audio issues. I'll yell at OBS and do nothing. And hopefully that works. Yeah, Cosminator sounds fine. Okay, good. Yeah, you can see who bought. You can see exactly. That's the thing I like about the Apple Card, is that it is painfully obvious how much you owe, how much you need to pay, and like when you get charged for something and how many times you've been charged for something, which is really, really simple and easy to understand and follow. So adding kids to it, I kind of understand, because if you just wanted to, let's say you live in a world, I don't really know a world where you give your kids cash. I didn't really get cash handed to me as a child growing up. But if you live in a world where your kid needs to buy stuff regularly and you want them to have access to finance of some kind, it's probably better to have them on the Apple Card account instead of just hand them cash. if you just started handing out cash, you have no clue where that money is going, allowance or whatever. And I guess they already support Apple Pay Cash for different families and that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess if you do want to track where all your money's going throughout the family, Apple Card might be a decent way of doing that. Obviously, the second your kid buys something they weren't supposed to, you'll know about it, which is better than, this isn't exactly a new thing. Other credit cards have had this feature, so it's not wholly original. But I guess the difference is the Apple integration with the Wallet app in iOS makes it very simple. You don't need a separate password. You don't have to have a separate app that you download. You could be working on your iPad or your Mac and get a notification. So and so bought this much stuff. Hey, wait a minute, that's not right. No, they might feel like they have unlimited money, but as the code suggests here, you'll be able to set a maximum transaction limit. So if you don't want your kids spending more than $30 a month, you'll be able to limit that and say, like, nah, okay, I'm going to give everybody an allowance. I don't know why, but if you're going to be somewhere where you're going to buy food, or you're going to be somewhere or you want to buy something, we can just, instead of giving our kids cash for an allowance, I never had an allowance growing up, but if you're in a family that does that, then you just say, I'm going to let you spend $30 a month on whatever you want, and then your limit's maxed out. And then it resets at the beginning of the month. I don't know. There's a more futuristic, up-to-date way to have family disperse money to each other, I guess. These are not rumors. No, they are references in code within iOS 14.5. So this is by Steve Mosser from a Mac Rumors contributor. So this is not a leak. This is not, I mean, it might be a leak, but the 14.5 is out in the form of a beta. So this is not exactly this is not exactly like Ming Chi Kuo or someone dropping news, or Kang or something saying like, oh, I heard Apple's going to do this. It's like, no, this is from Apple themselves. So we should probably see this within a month or so rolled out, which is cool. I never had an allowance. I just bought whatever I wanted. No, it's quite the opposite, actually. Well, first of all, I never bought things with my parents' money. That was not even possible, because they kept their money safe and I didn't have access to that. But oftentimes I would work for other people, either summer jobs or do things for whether it be a neighbor or someone in the neighborhood, and make my own money. And then I would ask my parents, can I buy this with my own money? And they would say no, because that's a bad idea. So quite the opposite of bought whatever I wanted. I wanted an iPhone long before I got one, and I had the money for it. Back when I remember the iPhone 3GS coming out and the iPhone 4 coming out, and I'd saved up some money, and I was like, hey, Mom and Dad, can I buy this? And they were like, no, that's a bad idea. I'm like, but it's my money, I'll pay for it. And they're like, no, doesn't matter. Let's see. I was hoping the new iPad mini would have Touch ID and no home button. Yeah, me too. I'm sorry, Xbox One. I'm bummed out by the new iPad mini rumors as well. But yeah. Mike, thank you for the Twitch Prime. I did see that. Lucky number 7 still amazes me every time I have to resub that it's been that long. I've been a sub. I'm surprised too. I'm very surprised by that. Thank you though. Appreciate it. I think Mike is the only person who has Twitch Primed this account who I have also been in a hot tub with. Sorry. I just had to say that. No such thing as payment for chores. No. Not for me growing up, but other people. I knew I had friends that got that, but to be fair, I'm not trying to be too hard on my parents. I would typically get a little bit of cash on my birthday or Christmas, so that was like one of their gifts to me. Is just like, here, have some cash, and you can buy what you want with that, but ask us first. So it's a little backwards. It's like, once every Christmas they'd give me a little bit of cash, and I would usually not enough cash to buy. So it wouldn't be like, here's $3,000. It was more like, here's $100. And normally I would put that money towards something, whether it be a new camera or a new Mac or something. Who knew hot tubs were on the list for Taylor Swift extreme topics? I know, all of you turn into little words for me, I don't get to see all your faces or anything when you're typing in the chat, but now one of those little words, I'm like, I've been in a hot tub with that one. It's weird. Anyway, Face ID on iPad is sick. Unlike the iPhone, usually use it in an environment you're not using a mask, and it's very quick. Touch ID in the iPhone's home button or in display makes much more sense. Yeah, well, let's talk about that other thing with iOS 14.5, a mask ID. First of all, I hope you guys know this. You guys are freaking lucky to have me. I am a blessing in disguise. May not look like a blessing, but I was going to take all of Monday off. Some people were even picking up on it. In my video I posted on EV on Saturday, people were like, your voice sounds messed up, dude. What's wrong? People were like, are you losing your voice? What's going on? And I was like, I have been podcasting and working for 4 hours. Basically, I was talking on the phone for like 4 hours straight. And then I was recording videos. And I was basically talking a lot all week. And people were like, your voice doesn't sound good. So I was like, all right. Normally I take Sunday and Monday off. But this time I'm really going to take Sunday and Monday off because I need my voice to rejuvenate or recharge or whatever. My voice didn't sound very good. And people were picking up on it. So I was like, okay. I'm definitely just going to not talk. I'm not going to do much for the next couple days. I'm just going to relax and just do some chores around the house, but I'm not going to do anything that requires me to talk very much. And then Monday comes along, and I read the report. iOS 14.5 will let your Apple Watch unlock your iPhone. And I thought that was a pretty huge deal. Some people were just like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but I was like, holy crap, that's amazing, because I've always wanted the Apple Watch to unlock more things. Like the first time on stage, they announced that like if your Apple Watch was unlocked and on your wrist, you'd be able to open up your laptop and it would instantly unlock. I thought that was the coolest thing, and for the longest time, I've always wanted that to be a feature for more devices. I want it on the iPad, I want it on the everything. Just Apple TV, screw it. Let's put biometrics on that while we're at it. Just do everything. Let the Apple Watch, as this is a secure, authenticative method that's attached to my wrist. Some people are like, well, it's only a 4-digit passcode. Well, so is Face ID. You can secure this with a 4-digit passcode too. And now that they're like, okay, you hold the phone up to your face. If you have a mask on, it detects that you have a mask, and then it unlocks via your watch. And then if you're concerned about security, because you're like, now anyone with a mask can unlock my phone, then there's a button right on the watch right after it unlocks that you can just tap once, and boom, that allows you to lock the phone again. If someone grabbed the phone out from under you and you want to lock your phone, I just thought that should have been a feature in general. Like in Control Center on the watch, you should be able to swipe up. One of these buttons here should just be like lock iPhone, even if you're not wearing a mask, even if you're just, I don't know. I trust my wife. Like, she's the alternate appearance on my iPhone. There's some people out there that I guess they're married, but they lock their devices from their spouses. I've heard of that happening. No judgment. I'm just saying, Okay, a little judgment. I'm just trying to say it's kind of weird to me when you do that. You're just like, no, I don't want her to see my stuff. It's like, okay. Anyway, different subject. My wife can unlock my phone with Face ID. That's the alternate appearance and settings. And I don't mind her being able to unlock all that stuff. But if you lived in a household with either siblings or people, you know, like your roommates that you didn't trust, and they got access to your phone, even if they knew the passcode, if you could just from the watch just lock it as someone grabbed their phone, you'd be like, no, just lock the phone right there. I think that would be awesome. But the fact they're finally rolling this out was the coolest thing that I actually stopped from my vacation on Monday. I was not planning on working. I was just relaxing at home, spending time with my wife, and then I saw that update and I was like, ooh, that's kind of amazing. And I feel like no one's going to care about it tomorrow, so I should probably do a video on it. So, yeah, I worked on a Monday, which most people, I guess, work on Mondays. But Mondays for me are like Sundays for students because Sunday, Monday are the days my wife and I have off. So that's why we like it. But normally wouldn't work on a Monday. But that feature was ruining vacation, but the video did pretty well. So I was excited to talk about it anyway. And thankfully, no one commented on my voice sounding weird. So I was like, okay, cool. My voice healed. It's all right. It doesn't. It's honestly kind of amazing to be honest with you that I think about it like, oh yeah, people lose their voice sometimes. Like that's a thing. And yet I do all these live streams and I do all these podcasts and I'm doing 2 to 3 videos a day. And somehow I pretty rarely lose my voice, which I'm happy about because normally people who would talk or stream as much as I do, I don't know that many people that just in their daily life talk as much as I do. So I'm like, I'm kind of surprised that I'm able to keep up with doing this without too much concern about my vocal cords, which are probably going to be completely destroyed. Anyway, I'm being very selfish today. I know I'm hyping myself up, just bragging nonstop to you guys. That's very humble, isn't it? Thank you, Kiopsis, for 75 bits. Wow, he says, "What's up, my butterino? Watching Twitch on my Book of Max." I love that. Can we call them more? Can we call them Book of Max more often? That's a great name. Which contains a bar of the touch. The bar of the touch. I too want. Can I say Mac of the eyes? Ooh, that sounds creepy. It's like iMac, MacBook, the Book of the Mac with the bar of the touch, with the phone of the eye. Ooh, these are like a whole separate language you just came up with. Love the new hairdo. Thank you. My wife did it. She's cut my hair every haircut since we've been married. I've not been to the barber since, which is over 2 years now. So she always cuts my hair and then says, "Oh my god, I messed it up. It looks terrible. I hate it." And she for the first few days after my haircut, she'll just start staring at me like this when she's like looking up and I'm like, "What? It's fine. People commented it was fine." And she was like, "I can see exactly where I messed up." But every time I get a haircut, everyone's like, "Looks great." What's funny is the other day, I uploaded a video with this updated fro, or however you call it. And someone after said, "You need a haircut." With this. This was my hair and someone was like, "Oh, you need to cut your hair, man." And I'm like, You want a bald Tailosive? I don't think we want a bald Tailosive. I think people would be freaked out by that. Anyway, this is so off subject. I want to get back to tech. What do you think of a feature idea where you can transfer music from an Apple Watch to a HomePod by an Apple Pay-like gesture on top of the HomePod? I got nothing against the feature. I just don't think I would use it very much, to be honest with you. I mean, I like the feature of being able to hold your iPhone over the HomePod and transfer the music to it. It sucks because I was about to make the example. I don't do that very much, but then I was like, Drew, you're lying. You used that feature yesterday, which is true because just yesterday I was sitting by the HomePod in the living room, and I was playing some music with my AirPods on at first, but through Spotify, and I was just like, Louise was asleep, but then she woke up, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't need the headphones anymore. So I took the headphones off, and I just hovered the phone over the HomePod, and it transferred the music, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I was about to make the argument I don't do that very much. I don't know if I would do that with my watch, though. I feel like most of the time with my watch, I just kind of play music directly to AirPods. There's fairly rare times I'm playing music from the watch, and then I want to transfer it to the HomePod. If they add it, I won't complain. It sounds like a somewhat nifty feature, but pretty gimmicky in my opinion. I heard it works better on the HomePod Mini because it has the U1 chip in it, but the original HomePod doesn't. But you can still hover over it. I think you just have to get it a little closer. You just have to hold the iPhone a little bit closer to the regular HomePod. But with the HomePod Mini, I think you can just kind of point it or get it in the general area. You don't have to be as close, which is cool. But that's a dope feature. I agree. More handoff stuff. I want to be able to transfer like movies and pictures to my Mac with that. I don't want to have to open up AirDrop. I wish I could just be like looking at a video in the camera app and then just hold it really close to the Mac and then it just shows up. More kind of like seamless integration, that kind of stuff. I do not have 14.5 beta. I've decided in the meantime, typically this is what I do every year. Whenever I get a new iPhone, I keep it on the public build, on the latest release. And then when quadruple UDC happens, that's when I go into the beta territory. And with betas, you're going to experience bugs. And if you do betas on... See, the main reason, like, I'm really pumped for iOS 14.5, but in order to get the face unlock feature, you have to update your watch to watchOS 7.4. And that requires getting on the beta, and I do not like messing around with watchOS betas because there's a lot of chances with bricking your watches with betas. So if you do want to do beta on your watch, I would recommend being prepared for the watch to brick. Like, if you can't live without your Apple Watch for the next few weeks, don't put a beta on it. But if you have a backup Apple Watch, that's probably a better way to test it. I do not at the moment. Sometimes I do, but at this point in time, I don't have like a spare Apple Watch to switch to if it was bricked. So, I flat out never do macOS betas. I guess I have a Mac Mini that I put betas on, but I'm planning on trading that in or selling it or whatever. But yeah, I don't want to have to put my watch on the beta, so there's not really a point in putting my phone on the beta. I'll go on the beta when iOS 15 gets announced, the quadruple UDC and everything, because then I want to make videos about it and stuff. But 14.5, the beta, I didn't need to install it to make a video on it because like the internet was already talking about it. It's an official feature. It's not speculation. Like, it's listed. And then like a few hours later, someone uploaded the hands-on thing, and it was very basic. It was like, yep, it works the way it says it does. Okay, it detects a mask. Boom, unlocked with Apple Watch, and then you can lock it right there. It was pretty simple. So I was like, I don't need to update the phone, but I'll do a video on it, which is cool. Anyway, Kiopsa says, do you use a keyboard cover? I worry about my switches that are made of butterflies, so I got one to be safe. That's not a bad idea. If you have the butterfly keyboard, yeah, I'd probably recommend a cover. I do not. I've had pretty good success with my Magic Keyboard. I don't know of a good keyboard cover. Don't link me any. I don't want to buy one. But yeah, I haven't had any quality control problems with this. I think way back when someone like Wouter is gonna pull up sometime. Drew on this one stream 3 years ago said this. So I'm just gonna preface this stream by saying a friend of mine way back when, I think it was Nathan. I can't remember. Shout out to Nathan. I think a friend of mine way back when spilled a drink on the keyboard, and then it got sticky. He had like a Slurpee or a Slushie or something from Sonic, and we replaced the keyboard. Apple didn't mind replacing it for free, which was nice, and I didn't even have Apple Care. I don't know if they're supposed to do that, but I just took it to the Apple store, and I was like, hey, can I get a new one? And they were like, yeah, sure. So they just gave me a new one. But yeah, that was the one time we replaced it, but that was a understandable. It was surprising the fact that it actually worked at all. The fact that they could spill a whole high fructose corn syrup drink on the keyboard and you could still type on it. It only really resulted in like 2 or 3 keys that were literally sticky, but also you would press them and they would show up twice or they wouldn't mush right. But other than that, like, and I'm not a clean guy, to be honest with you. I get a lot of crap on my keyboards. Same with my iPad. It has the Magic Keyboard mechanism and I don't have a cover for that. But I was literally like eating a bunch of popcorn right before we went live. Like, I'm a very sloppy, messy eater. Sometimes when I would have ice cream growing up, my parents would find like little scuffs of ice cream on my forehead and they're like, Drew, what the heck? How did that even get there? I don't know, but true story. I don't know how ice cream got on my forehead, but that would happen. My wife made it too. She makes great popcorn. She puts little Valentina hot sauce. Ooh, spicy popcorn's the best. Never have I thought of the description mush when typing on a keyboard. Really? I've been saying that for years. Where is Nathan? I don't know. I think he was. I talked to him a few weeks ago. I think he's working with a few different media companies now. For those who don't know, Nathan was like a video editor for Taylosive for a while. It was a lot easier to have a video editor when I was shooting smaller file sizes because I could offload I could upload that footage to like Google Drive or something, and someone else online could edit it. Now with the types of files I shoot with, it's not easy, so that's why we don't have a video editor anymore. But it was never really a full-time thing. He just did it on the side. But he's also a great filmmaker, and he's been working with a lot of different media companies, and he's a really busy guy. He's also working at AT&T, or he used to. I think he left that job, and that he's also doing school. He's doing a bunch of stuff, but I talked to him a couple weeks ago. He's doing good, especially for mice. I've heard of smash and mash, but not mush. Oh, I've been saying mush for a long time. Let's see. Why not switch to a mechanical keyboard? I don't like mechanical keyboards. I've tried them. I've had friends with mechanical keyboards, and before the pandemic, I used to go to like Best Buy, and they had all these different keyboards to choose from that you could type on. Never got comfortable with them. I for one, I don't like the loud ones. I know they're not all loud, but loud keyboards annoy me. These are pretty quiet. And I also don't like keyboards that you have to push it, like deep, the thick ones. I like the thin, minimal look of these keyboards because it feels like I don't have to push the key as far or as hard to type, whereas on a mechanical keyboard, it feels like I'm having to push harder or push the keys inward because there's more travel. I think you can have too much travel. Not everyone will agree with me on that, I know, but I didn't mind the butterfly keyboard. Other than the quality control issues, which I didn't have any myself, but like I understand why Apple ditched them because I didn't hate the traditional Magic Keyboard, but I was fine with the butterfly keys back like I had it on my 2016 MacBook Pro, which I used for over a year. That was my dedicated Mac. I did all of my YouTube stuff on it. I never personally had any issues with the butterfly keyboard. It worked great for me, and I was very comfortable typing on it. A lot of people hated that, but I didn't mind it. But I also grew up typing on a virtual keyboard. I wrote a bunch of essays, and I used to have, before I had a MacBook, I basically just had an iPad, which I didn't have a physical keyboard for. It wasn't until the Magic Keyboard case that I actually started using a dedicated keyboard with my iPad. But that was like last year. But all the years before that, I did everything on a virtual keyboard. I didn't mind typing on the touch screen. It became a muscle memory for me. I was never the guy that was like, no, I need a keyboard to type on. I can't type right with a virtual keyboard. I was like, no, I'm totally cool with a virtual keyboard. So I don't mind the thin stuff. Personally, I'm not like, I don't think it makes that big a difference. I'm mainly using this keyboard because it's the one my Mac came with, and it works great. I like it. It looks cool, and it's reliable, unless you dump a slushie on it. Let's see. If you're looking for an excellent Mac keyboard, get the Logitech MX keys for Mac. It's much better than the Apple Magic Keyboard. I'd consider that pretty subjective, but I'll look it up to humor you. I'm thinking about how I'm typing right now. It feels great. I love the way it types. It looks very similar. It's going to be an additional $100 because, you know, when you buy an iMac, you get something like this. What's the difference? I'm looking at it right now. There's things like, I mean, look at this, guys. There's things like $100. It looks almost the exact same. Is it because they indent? Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's some marketing tactic that's like, oh, yeah, when the key has a circle indentation, that makes it way better. Oh, yeah. I bet it does. So much more comfortable. I don't like this mouse. I know a lot of people love this mouse, but I've tried it myself. I didn't like it. I couldn't edit as well. I like being able to scroll side to side. The background is distracting. Yeah, you can all look at all my Twitter notifications. Enjoy. A bunch of people got a random shout out. You can pair up to 3 devices to it. Why would I do that? I don't want to pair multiple devices. I don't know. Why would I want one keyboard paired to multiple devices? Maybe that's something I didn't think I needed because I don't need it. I kind of like the separation. Like I have my Magic Keyboard here with the iPad because this is how I prop the iPad up. I'm not going to get rid of that because I don't know. Then I would have to take the keyboard and the iPad with me wherever I go. No, this just sounds more complicated. Anyway, 10 bits from Kyopsis, please. One day I will give you a proper introduction to mechanical keyboards, including lightweight, minimal travel mech keyboards in a plethora of different types. Isn't the term mechanical keyboard kind of redundant? How is this not a mechanical keyboard? There's mechanics. The keys go up and down, right? What's the difference? Well, when it's mechanical. So you're basically saying you want to get me into a keyboard that will mimic what my already existent free keyboard already does. No thanks. Unless it's free. Even if it's free, then maybe. I like this one so much. I have literally zero things to say about this that are negative. I guess lightning is kind of annoying, but I gotta have lightning for the mouse anyway, so. Oh well. I would like to type on 5 different computers at the same time. iPad, Mac, and maybe secondary PC. No, personally, I wouldn't like that because I like having a keyboard separate for the iPad because I know when I'm typing on the Mac and I know when I'm typing on the iPad. I don't want to have to think or go into settings to have to switch between the two. I would rather just know that, okay, this one, whenever I type on this, it's going to be interacting with the iPad. Whenever I type on this, it's going to be with the iMac. That's a lot more simple to me. Plus, this keyboard case is how I prop up my iPad Pro. You know, if I didn't have the keyboard case here, it would just, I don't know how to prop it up. I would have to get a different folio case. This just sounds like a very expensive solution to a problem that doesn't exist. As a mechanical engineer, I did not approve of that having the title mechanical. So that's why. Okay, Mike has decided. Coding and mechanical keyboards are a beautiful combination. Well, I don't code anything, so that's probably why I don't care. If I coded something, maybe I would care more. That's a terrific question. One day I will show you the world of wonder and splendor of mechanical keyboards. So much splendor, it made a noise. Oh my goodness. I'm for like whichever keyboard comes with the computer, I'll use that one. Same with the MacBook. You don't go to settings to switch, there's an indicator on the keyboard and it swaps literally instantly. I don't have to swap. I don't want to swap at all. I don't want to have to tap an indicator. I just want a separate thing. You know, 2 separate keyboards, good. I don't want to have to sit down and start using my keyboard and wonder, I wonder which device it's paired to today. If I had like 3 different computers on one desk, maybe, but that's not this. I'm going for minimal, right? Like I used to have a bunch of monitors on my desk, got rid of them because I wanted to have a clean, more elegant setup with not too much going on. I don't want one keyboard to be like, oh, is that connected to the iPad? And keep in mind, the case ain't going anywhere. The case would still be here, so there would still be multiple keyboards. This sounds way more complicated. There are 3 physical buttons with a tiny LED on each of those keys to tell you which one it's connected to. You know how I tell which keyboard is connected to? It's the one it's next to. The keyboard that's close to the iPad is connected to the iPad. That sounds a bit easier. I'm sorry. No matter how much you try, I am not going to get interested in this. I despise loud mechanical keyboards that give the false impression to too many people that mechanical keyboards equals loud clackies, death to loud clackies. I'll take all your bits. Thank you, Kyopsis. Man, I didn't think this would be the keyboard stream today. I love the Magic Keyboard case, by the way. It's fantastic. It's run wonderfully, and I love that it's backlit. That's cool. If you want to spend $300 for an iPad keyboard and another $150 for a keyboard, yeah, that one, I don't have to. These come with the Mac, dude. I bought the iMac. This came with it. It cost me nothing. The Magic Keyboard is expensive, but it's attached. You know what your Logitech 3-in-1, 3 devices, Logitech MX keys, you know what this can't do? Done. The keyboard is with the iPad now. I can carry it around like this. I can take it out to the couch. I can put it on my lap. I can bring it in bed. Whereas carrying an iPad and a separate keyboard around with me, no, thank you. And that doesn't even include the trackpad. This comes with a trackpad. This comes with the floating design, which is really nice because I can pull the iPad off whenever I need to. And then I can leave this on my desk plugged in, so when I want to charge the iPad, boom, it just sits there and docks. No Bluetooth settings, no buttons. I just drop it there. Poof, I love it. I want to be minimal also, Drew. I want my 2 keyboards. Vlad, this ain't going anywhere. If I got the MX Keys wireless, I would have 3 keyboards. I would have this one, I would have the one that came with the iMac Pro, and I would have the Logitech one, and I'd have $100 less. It's not more minimal to have 3. Apple is said to use Hyundai Electric's platform with maximum range of 310 miles. They should just buy Lucid already. Oh, Byron. Byron, are you the guy we always argue with about the Apple car? Oh, God. It's just as real as it was 7 years ago when people said it would come out in 2020. Yeah, Quo went off about the Apple car probably because he got a lot of attention when he talked about it last. But any kind of specs, I saw that 9to5Mac was reporting on Apple car specs, and I was like, all these specs are meaningless for people to say like, oh, the Apple car will do that. It's like the report is also being prefaced by saying also at the earliest it will launch 2025. Every Apple rumor that is this far away is wrong. Just go back and look if you don't believe me. Go back and look at rumors and reports for things that were granted 4 to 5 years before they happened. They're almost always wrong. I can think of a few that were correct 3 years in advance, but I can't think of any Apple rumors that were correct 5 years in advance. That's like never happened. So no, thank you. No, 310 miles in 2025 is going to be a joke. You're going to be able to get a 300-mile EV for $25K by 2025. Yeah, that $25K Tesla will be a thing by then. Does the Apple car have a collapsible keyboard? I don't think so. Maybe it will. Who knows? At this point, it's as real as a unicorn, right? So just, yeah, keep going with the Apple car. It's totally real. I want to show you my fancy case that contains my professional level of Mac of the Book style. Don't let me forget. Okay, I might let you forget, though. Appreciate the bits. I prefer a MacBook. Impossible to lose the keyboard. I would say this is pretty impossible to lose the keyboard because this is what you travel the iPad with. When the iPad is in a backpack or when you're on the go, you almost never separate these two together. Master Doofus. Good username. He said the Apple car 9to5 rumor was stupid also because they were like, Apple's going with Hyundai, but they also might go with GM. Like they'd partner with someone before making the specs. Yeah, all the specs are completely useless right now because for one, the project is pretty much, even people who say the project is happening are still saying it's 4 to 5 years away, which people need to acknowledge that so much can change in that amount of time. Apple can go through new leadership. Apple could let go of people. The EV market's going to be totally different in 5 years. Just look at EV market was completely different just 5 years ago, and it's going to be even more different 5 years from now. Like 5 years ago, the Model 3 was not a thing. You know, like it's not even been 5 years since the Model 3 was unveiled. I think we're coming up on the 5th year of the unveiling, but it was like, wasn't it like April of 2016? So we'll hit the 5-year mark in a couple of months, but we're not there yet. So, yeah, I just I don't get it. It's crazy to believe that stuff now. Even with the they were hiring a bunch of ex-Tesla employees and they were hiring a bunch of people for automotive projects in 2015, and now they're hiring people again and letting people go and hiring people. But people act like if Apple puts a job application out there, that means it's a confirmed thing. It really doesn't. They've had job applications out there for dedicated TVs for the longest time. Also, how many times have you read a report that says Apple hires Google former AI chief, or the former guy who ran the Google Assistant program? And has that ever resulted in Siri getting way better? Not really. Apple car or 14-inch unicorn MacBook Pro? What's more real? MacBook Pro for sure. Yeah, that's lots of rumors have been going around about that. 10, 10 bits again. What was the stream supposed to be about again? We were talking about iOS 14.5 originally, but we can talk about whatever we want. That's the beauty of Twitch. Scott S3, thank you for the Twitch Prime for 27 months. Wow, that's a long time. Thank you. Thank you very much, Scott. Hello, welcome. But yeah, the MacBook Pro definitely more real. I said, don't let me forget. I'm charging back my bit donations. Oh no, what will I do without 20 cents? Thank you for the bits. Neum donated, says, do you think Tim Cook will find a husband soon? This relates to Apple. I didn't realize he was already 58 years old, and I just want to see the Cook legacy live on so Apple doesn't go down the crapper and the business stays in the family. You don't need the business to stay in the family. You're my inspiration. I want to build generational wealth so my family bloodline is taken care of. I crave money, power, influence. I want a family dynasty like the Kardashians, the Trumps, the Smith. Oh, God. Niam, that should not be your goal in life. Don't let people like the Kardashians dictate what you want to what you want your life to be like. Please don't. I have no clue about Tim Cook. I mean, I feel like once you surpass a certain age, the likelihood of you getting married goes way down. So, yeah, I think he probably won't get married if he hasn't gotten married yet. But who cares? Alpha, you're like the one person who said the audio wasn't good. I'm pretty sure it's your internet. If you play the Twitch stream at a low enough quality, it will sound worse. But everyone else said the audio was fine. Tesla employees are smart. Apple likes having smart people. Yeah, but the thing that is crazy about trying to deduct rumors based on hiring ramps is Apple hires and lets go of people left and right. And you never really find out who they let go of. You only see who they hire. But you never really truly understand how long they're at the company. They can hire someone for like 2 months and then send them back or get rid of them. And Apple does all kinds of moonshot projects that never turn into anything, which is why the Apple Car rumors, as long as they continue to say that they're 4 to 5 years away, then I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to believe it because there have legitimately been Apple Car reports since 2007 and 8. There were Apple Car rumors before the iPhone launched. Like Steve Jobs was talking to people about making a car, and there's constantly been that kind of rumor on the back burner. And every year they come out again and say, "Oh, maybe next year," So because it's been rumored to death and it's been a speculative thing for over a decade now, that's why I'm highly skeptical of believing anything about it. Anyway, I was acknowledged. Will you acknowledge my DMs? I would love to. The issue is there's like 50,000 of them, so it's difficult. When you're constantly getting DMs, it's difficult to stay on top of. I'll try my best. Did you know Marquez commented on your podcast? I don't know. I know he knows I exist. I don't know what his latest comment was. There's not like a comment section in the podcast app. I mean, he's always, whenever he's reviewing a phone and he opens his podcasts app, typically the tech podcast is listed there, which is kind of cool. But people have brought it up for years. I remember the first time. I remember the first time he showed it off in a video. He was showing the screen on some Android, and then our podcast was there, and a bunch of people were pinging me. I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool! We're in a Marquez video." And then he kept doing it, and I kept getting pinged over and over and over again, and people were like, "Drew, you're in the latest video." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And then pretty soon, it was like 2 years later, people were still bringing it up. We're on some podcast website, and you saw it from Marquez, but okay, that could be anyone. I don't buy it. Yes, Drew, I've DM'd you. Answer me. I've sent some good memes. I want some good memes. I'll try to sort them out and find them. Grudy said sent 10 bits and said, "What would Stocks Plus be about?" I don't know if they would necessarily call it Stocks Plus, but basically it would be Apple becoming a brokerage service, which allows you to buy and sell stocks through the stock exchange, of course. That's kind of what Robinhood lets you do, which people don't like very much right now. And Vanguard, Webull, E-Trade, there's a few others, but there's all kinds of different brokerage apps out there. And Apple has just kind of shipped the stocks app by default with all of their devices. So they seem to have kind of an emphasis, at least with their user base, of like, oh yeah, here's how you can manage your stocks and that kind of thing. So yeah, I would love to see Apple get into a brokerage service, because all these different brokers typically don't have a great user interface, and they don't have a very clean, minimal approach that makes investing look very easy and simple to understand, because the stock market is kind of complicated, and to someone who's not aware of it, it can be somewhat hard to get into if you don't know what you're doing. And while Robinhood is getting a lot of scrutiny right now because of their decisions with GameStop and AMC stock and all that, and again, not financial advice, but I don't think you should use Robinhood, but you do you. I would not recommend using Robinhood, but at the same time, Robinhood has a very clean, very approachable user interface that's very easy to understand, and makes the process of managing and buying a stock portfolio very easy and simple. So they're not very secure though. So what they have, they're like the Peacock of, and I don't mean the streaming service. Oh God, it's so confusing. I mean, like, they're all like, ooh, look how pretty our app is. It's so clean. It's so minimal, or it's so fancy. We have like the real-time stock price, and the app is so easy to use and user-friendly. But they have massive cybersecurity issues. They've had tons of data breaches. They've had tons of class action lawsuits come after them because they've had their servers go down and people lost gains or weren't able to trade stocks because of that. And more recently, they've been involved interfering with people being able to buy GameStop and their attachments to Citadel, which is, it's a big, like, sketchy company, but their app is very clean and approachable. So Apple, I think, would be a very great alternative, because they could make a very clean, simple, minimal UI that people could get comfortable with investing, similar to the Apple Card when it comes to software and user interaction. They're the most clean looking, like, credit card and simple to sign up for, that I think if Apple did a brokerage service, they could do all that great stuff just within the stocks app, which is awesome. So Robinhood did what they did because of SEC regulations. They did to temporarily shut down by law. Apple would have had to do the same thing, but not all the brokers shut down though. I'd recommend watching a Hyperchange video on it, because he dove into a lot of the direct ties Robinhood has with different hedge funds, because you could still buy GameStop through other brokers. It's not like the SEC required everybody to do it. It was just Robinhood uses other agencies that they outsource with. It's more complicated. I don't want to get into it. Golly from Hyperchange did a much better breakdown on why Robinhood is sketchy. Even ignoring the GameStop thing, I wouldn't recommend you use Robinhood, just because of the cyber security issues they've had with data breaches, and there's all kinds of scandals Robinhood's been caught in. But Apple could be much more secure, much more approachable, much more safe. But yeah, it might not be as profitable, because most of these brokers don't make a ton of money directly, because you don't really have to, Vanguard doesn't cost anything. It doesn't have there's not like a bunch of money to be made necessarily in the selling of stocks, but I still think there's some like export fees and transaction fees that Apple could capitalize on, similar to the Apple Card. It doesn't really cost you anything to use, but there's still money to be made. We will save this for Discord. I'm not going to be on Discord much more today, but thank you for the bits. How's your friendship with Jonathan from TLD and Snazzy Labs? I haven't talked to John Morrison in a long time. He just kind of went dark. I texted him a few times, but never heard anything back much long after I departed. But he's a busy guy. I don't hold him against him. He's got a lot going on. So Snazzy Labs, I haven't really interacted with much outside of our little public interactions on Twitter. We don't DM behind the scenes much at all. I think maybe one or two times I just asked him if I could use some footage from he was at the Cybertruck event, and I wanted to use some of the footage he got, and I just asked him if that was okay, and he said, yeah, it's fine. Other than that, though, we don't really talk. But yeah, Snazzy's is cool. I want to get to know him someday, but he's busy and I'm busy, so I don't know. How many videos are you planning for today? Asks Chris Norton. This should be the last one. Schedule's being a little bit weirder more recently. I'm working a bit on the I Love Louise series for Taylosive TV, so I'm working on that today, but you won't see it today. You'll see it Saturday, hopefully. But yeah, it's more recently in 2021, I've been trying to pump out a bit more content than last year. So tech and EV for sure, and then typically a stream, and then maybe after that I try to make time for a vlog or something, but I got to work on the skit today. Okay. Let's see. Will Touch ID and iPhone 13 be in the side button or under the display? Honestly, I think the side button makes more sense. I think it makes more sense too. I feel like it would be cheaper and easier for Apple to implement that. They've already done it with the iPad Air, but there seem to be a lot of reports and rumors still claiming they're going to do it underneath the display. The only reason I'm skeptical of that is they've been saying it every year since 2016. I legit remember reading about that in 2016. Apple has this patent for under display Touch ID, and we were like, oh great, that's coming on the new iPhone 8, and then nope, and then the next year was like, actually they're going to bring back Touch ID this year, no this year, no this year, and they keep pushing it back. So I've heard that report and seen it not make it to release many times, which is why I'm very hesitant to believe any report that claims that Touch ID. Now because of the pandemic, I kind of get it coming back, but even then, with iOS 14.5, I could see Apple just saying, well, if you're wearing a mask, just get an Apple Watch. Apple would rather sell you a solution. And honestly, an Apple Watch is going to be cheaper than a new iPhone for most of you. So, you know, if you're using an iPhone now with Face ID and you're like, I don't want to downgrade, right? You don't want an iPhone SE or an iPhone 8 with Touch ID. You want the latest iPhone or whatever. And then a newer iPhone comes out. Now it has Touch ID, but it's probably going to cost you $800 to $1,000, maybe more if you get the Max. You'll get some other features with it, but overall, just buying an Apple Watch SE for a couple $100 is probably going to save you a lot more money that way. So if your argument is, you know, the problem with the masks and Face ID is Apple is selling a solution, well, the Apple Watch is selling a solution, and so is the iPhone 13. That's also selling a solution. You might get some trade-in value, so it might only end up costing you $300 or $400, but still, I think the Apple Watch is cheaper overall. 100 bits from Neum says, you think Apple would become a brokerage and a clearinghouse? That seems to be the issue, Drew. The idiots online aren't grasping. It's out of Cash App and Robinhood's hands. Decisions are coming from their clearinghouse. When you trade using brokerages, that trade isn't executed immediately, and it's done by the clearinghouse. Okay, well, you want to get more into this subject. I understand they use a clearinghouse, but my point is not every broker uses the same clearinghouse, and Robinhood has a lot of direct investor relations with those clearinghouses, so it's a bit more complicated than that. To me, it seems more of like a push the blame type thing. They're just like, it wasn't us, it was them. But again, I'm no expert on the field, but let me find the video. Hyperchange did a really good video on it. I'd encourage you check him out because he broke it down in a way that was a lot more understandable. I didn't memorize the video, but I just remember watching it going, oh, that is pretty sketch. Let's see. Do you think Apple will raise the prices of the iPhone soon? The Pros have been the same price for a while. I don't think so. I don't think they would raise the price on an S here very much. They already rose the prices. All the iPhone 12 prices were, most of the iPhone 12 prices were quite a bit higher. The Pros were not higher, but I think Apple knew the Pros were such a difficult deal. If they rose the price on them anymore, there was a high chance of them flopping. But maybe they would have rose the price on them if they realized that so many people would end up buying the 12 Pro anyway. They rose prices from 7 to 8, yeah, but they also doubled up on storage, and they added the glass back and thing. iPhone 7 started at 32 gig, iPhone 8 was 64, and they looked a lot cheaper compared to the iPhone 10, which launched at 1,000. But 7 to 8, I would still say there were a lot of changes. I don't think there's a lot of changes going from 12 to 12s. It's a pretty incremental, minor year, and Apple probably wants to assert, as they're pivoting more towards services, they want to establish market dominance, which, thanks to the iPhone 11 being cheaper than the 10R, they've probably realized that with these price points of like, you have your $700, $800 iPhone, and then you have your $1,000 and $1,100 iPhone. They can dominate a lot of the market with those price margins. So I'd be pretty surprised, considering it really doesn't sound like much is changing this year. There were some people commenting on my videos about that, saying, oh yeah, Graham Stephan did a video on the Robinhood thing too. There's more to it than you think, but it's too deep. I'm not going into it. Anyway, it feels like the S year is going to be like, okay, Touch ID is back. And I don't feel like just bringing back Touch ID is going to warrant a price increase, because they already rose the prices last year, with the exception of, I guess, the 12 mini. But that's, people say that's up to debate because it's such a different size. So I think 120 hertz coming to the pros doesn't justify an increase in price, but it is Apple. You should probably always expect the price to go up a little bit, because they always like overpricing things a bit more than people anticipated, with a few exceptions like HomePod Mini or the budget iPad or that kind of thing. But I don't think they meant to sell that as a solution. I think they added it for people who already have both. Yeah. Well, if someone doesn't have an Apple Watch and they're like, I can't unlock my phone with Face ID, what do I do? You can make the argument of, oh, they're trying to sell you a solution. But this is a solution they can roll out with a software update now. So yeah, you're right. It's a perk. It's a benefit for people who already have the watch and the phone. Apple Watch is very, very popular. So don't act like, oh, it doesn't work for most people because most people don't have Apple Watches. It's like, yeah, but there's a lot of people with Apple Watches, and they only work with iPhones. Apple Watch is like the number one selling watch in the world. So adding a feature that every Apple Watch owner can use and appreciate, that's a pretty big deal. That's a very large user base. So yeah, I think it was a great move. I've been wanting Apple to let the watch unlock more stuff for a while, so I'm glad to see the mask thing accelerate that. But honestly, I wouldn't mind it more often. Like I want more like geo locked preferences, where it's like, okay, if you're at home by yourself, or with a loved one that you trust and whatever, it should be able to detect, hey, this person is at home in their house. You probably don't need to lock their iPhone. Like, I guess someone could break in and steal the phone, but just the ability to lock it from the watch, and if the iPhone leaves the premises, then it starts checking, then it starts doing biometrics and being like, I'll start figuring out if I should check to see who's opening the phone. But even just like a periodical check, I know Apple's probably not going to do this because they care about security end to end, doesn't matter where you are. But like for me, we spend so much time at home, there's no one else around here. I would love it if the iPhone could just be like, oh, he's at home, we don't need to keep locking the phone. And then on top of that, in the background, maybe just like once every 10 minutes while I'm using the phone, it doesn't have to let me know it's doing this. It just does a Face ID check, and it detects that it's me and then goes, okay, we're still good. That way someone could, if I left my phone at home and someone broke in and tried to start using my phone, it could detect, oh, that's a different person. But do it in the background. Don't do it up front, just, and if it detects that it's someone else, then it locks or something like that. I don't know, but for the shortcuts Apple did, Apple turned off the automation feature, and for a lot of tasks require you to tap a notification on screen. Very, very annoying, honestly. I think I know what you mean. It does sound annoying. What was the YouTuber you recommended about the Robinhood thing? There's Graham Stephan, and then there's Hyperchange, who have talked about, well, Hyperchange I've agreed with him for a long time about Robinhood. Me and Gally have been anti-Robinhood for many years, long before the GameStop thing. But from what he was saying, it sounds like that they're kind of using the what's the term? They're using the clearinghouse as an excuse. They're kind of, that's their backdoor. It's like, oh, it's not us. Don't get mad at us. But there's a lot there's worse things. That's a terrible idea. Imagine authorities that can get access into people's phones like that, or even battery. If there's a Face ID background checks, it would just make more sense to do one check rather than checks every 10 minutes. I'm not saying it has to be a mandate. Also, in this situation, you're saying that the authorities would break into your house while you're in it and take your phone. I think there's bigger problems at that point. I mean, it could lock if it picks up. Just let me. Here's the thing. I don't want the little lock thing to have to be there unless it detects that someone else is picking it up. If it's the same person every day at the same location, just keep it unlocked. But if it gets picked up and then it detects someone else, then you can lock it instead of staying locked by default and having to lock it every single time. Like, it's an optional thing. I'm not saying everyone should have their iPhone unlocked when they're at home. I'm just saying if you want to go into settings and say, you don't have to lock my iPhone within this geographic location. Also, I think it's pretty fair to say that the chances of the authorities breaking in and trying to access your phone is a fairly rare circumstance compared to the number of people that are using their phone and at home. Yes, probably billions. There's probably north of 1 billion people that are in a situation where they're like, I'm at home. I'm not worried about someone else unlocking my phone. It's just me in my room. I'm good. And then, especially with ultra wideband tech and like high precision GPS tracking versus number of people that want to keep their privacy safe when when a police officer or intruder breaks into their, like, you're going to break into someone's house and then immediately look at their text messages. I mean, sure. Does it happen? Yes. Is it a large percentage of the situation? Probably not. And then as soon as you pick it up, if the police officer picks it up and tries to start using it, the Face ID sensors are like, nope, that's not right, and then locks. It's like, oh, I'm waiting for my owner, that kind of thing. I feel like there's smarter ways to handle biometrics. 50 bits, thank you. It says the Pro iPhones cost Apple $475, and it's a little more than half what they charge us at $99. Do they really need that big of a profit margin? Ugh. Neem, are we going to have to go down this route again? Okay, first of all, there's a lot more that goes into the iPhone than the sum of its parts. It's not like those parts just fell from the sky. They have to build out supply chains, and they have to build factories, and they have to do research and development to make those parts possible. That stuff isn't free. Also, software is a huge division at Apple's company, all of which requires money, which you get for years for free. 5 years after your iPhone is purchased, you're still getting software updates, which is costing Apple money, and it's costing you nothing. That's also money that goes into it. There's also marketing, advertising that there's a new iPhone out, and paying for ads that go up. That also costs money. So trying to calculate the profit margin based off of the sum of its parts is ridiculous, because you're assuming that all the parts just already existed. Every part that goes into the iPhone, it was just sitting around, and Apple just paid for each of those parts. No, they had to pay for the factories and the supply chains and the people assembling them. That's just the parts. That does not put in the labor costs, the supply chains. Again, the development of each of those parts, figuring out which part are we putting in, how do we design each part. It's not like A14 chip was just sitting on some shelf somewhere, and Apple was like, oh, cool, the A14 chip, put this in the iPhone. So if you bypass all of the research and development, if you bypass all of the supply chains, you bypass all of the marketing, and you bypass all of the software development, the parts themselves cost Apple $475. But there's so much more that goes into the product. And if you look at the profit margins of all Androids, it's pretty close. There were times Samsung phones were actually cheaper to build than iPhones and still costed about the same. We've done videos on that in the past. It's silly. Apple never needs the profit margins, but they do charge the Apple tax. I think the Apple tax goes towards things, though, because people always act like, Samsung doesn't have to put as much into software development because they can just let Google do it, and they just plug in Android, whereas Apple has to design the whole OS from the ground up and continue to support it for usually twice as long as Samsung and Google does. They put in like 3 years of software updates. Apple puts in like 6, sometimes 7 with certain iPads. They put in 7 years of software. That's all cost to Apple that the consumer doesn't have to pay for as time goes on. So knowing the true profit margins is honestly pretty difficult. Magic Trolls created the iPhone. Where's theirs cut? I didn't think about all that. Nuance is so important. Thanks for reminding me. One question I have is confusing me is why does Apple advertise? I feel like they should take the Tesla approach when they spend zero on advertising. Apple ads are embarrassing. Have you seen the HomePod? Yeah, I agree. Most of Apple ads are bad and not very good, but they wouldn't do it if it didn't work. Um, it just a simple ad letting people know a new iPhone is out probably sells a bunch of people. The reason Tesla is not spending money on advertising is because they have a severe supply problem, not a demand problem. So when Apple releases a new iPhone, their hope is that as many people buy it and order one as possible because they don't have a supply chain issue most of the time. Tesla, whether 500,000 people order a Tesla this year or 500 million people order a Tesla this year, it doesn't matter. Tesla's still only going to be able to make a certain amount of cars. So spending money on advertising is pretty useless because when you spend money on advertising, it's because you're trying to increase sales. You want people to buy your thing. Tesla doesn't need to increase sales because they can't keep up with their current demand. They have more people ordering cars than they can build. So advertising, spending money on that would just result in nothing. Because that doesn't really fix Tesla's fundamental problem. Their fundamental problem is they can't build cars fast enough, and they can't build them affordably enough. So that's why all their money is being spent on battery production and supply chains so that they can build out as many cars as possible. But currently, there's no issue with demand. Whereas Apple, when a new iPhone comes out, some of us tech enthusiasts might know about it, but average everyday consumer, they're not going to remember that. So they need ads to kind of push them, remind them, hey, new iPhone's out, go buy one. So it makes a big difference for them. Apple tax is a real tax. Apple is a government. Oh, God. Yeah, there's a lot of bad Apple ads. There's some good ones, but honestly, a lot of them are very cringy and annoying. I've seen a lot in my time. I'm a big Apple sheep. I'm a huge fan of Apple products, but the main reason I don't like a lot of Apple commercials is they usually have very little to do with the product. There were ads for iPhone that were basically just demonstrating that the iPhone has like a voice recorder app or that you can set timers, and that's it. It's like, okay, buy an iPhone. You can record your voice with it. And the ad ends, but they're trying to do something. Or some people just look at advertising as a different form of art. It's like, ooh, it's this HomePod ad is so beautiful and elegant. And I'm like, HomePod's too expensive. Some lady dancing around with weird walls doesn't make me want to buy a HomePod. And I own a HomePod. I prefer advertising that's like convincing. I don't really look at advertising as like, oh, how do we get it so like artistic and win all the awards for the most artistic? It's like, if you want to mess around with ads for your playground, that's fine. But I mean, normally an advertisement is going to show up when I don't want it to be there. So try to keep it as direct and simple and clean as possible. But yeah, it's a personal preference thing. I don't like ads in general. There's not really, other than maybe like Ryan Reynolds ads, but for the most part, if I ever see an ad, it's usually in the way of something I'm trying to watch. So anyway, appreciate all the bits and the Twitch Primes today, guys. It's been very helpful and nice, and it's been lovely chatting with you. I hope you all have an excellent rest of your day. I'm going to go do some more work now. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.